the change in total demand. All right, so the change in the amount of good one is going to equal the demand function at the new prices and the original income, because our income hasn't changed, minus the demand at the old price, and again, whatever the income is, since the income hasn't changed. Right, so this is consumption at new prices. Well, that pen doesn't work anymore. So consumption, that's what I mean by cons, at new price. And this is consumption at old prices. And we've kind of decomposed this change in X1 into the change in X1 due to the sub-effect plus the change in X1 due to the income effect. We're going to call this the Slutsky identity. And if we kind of put in what our mathematical kind of expressions for each of these two effects, you're going to see that it's exactly the same as this. So let's kind of write them out. So the change in X1 equals, well, I guess I already wrote that above there, so let's just leave that off. I'm just going to rewrite this here. So the change, do it again. X1, P1 prime, M, minus X1, P1, M. So this is, again, just the change in X1. And then let's write out the expressions for the substitution and the income effect. Well, the substitution effect was the demand at the new prices and the adjusted income minus the demand at the original prices and original income. That was our definition of the substitution effect. Plus the income effect, which is X1 at the new prices and original income, so whatever the kind of the actual new demand is, minus the demand at the new prices and the compensated income. And now let's look at the left and right side. Well, these two cancel out. And then we're just left with X1 at P1 prime and M minus X1 at P1 M. Well, that's exactly what's on the left-hand side. So I mean, this is kind of trivial, right? But, you know, I'm just kind of showing you that with our definitions, the total change is equal to the substitution and the income effect. Okay, so remember, the substitution effect, you know, we can always say it's quote-unquote negative, and it goes in the opposite direction. I don't know what I'm doing here with my hands, opposite direction of the price change. So if the price of the good goes up, the demand for that good would go down. The price of that good goes down, the demand for that good goes up. So we're gonna say that's negative. And we've kind of talked about this a bit, but this income effect could be positive or negative in that the demand for this good can move in the same direction as income if it's a normal good, or it can work in opposite direction as income if it's an inferior good. So let's erase this and kind of talk about these two cases, and then specifically talk about this kind of extreme example where the income effect is dominating the substitution effect, and we have an inferior good, so we're going to get that given good that we've kind of talked about a few times. Identity here, and let's talk about a normal good, and let's imagine the price of good one is going up. Well, the price of good one is going up. That means we're going to sub away from this good, right? This good has become relatively more expensive. Now, if the price of good one goes up, that also means our purchasing power is going down. And if it's a normal good and our purchasing power goes down, we're gonna buy less of the good because of that. So we know we're definitely gonna decrease our demand for good one. Now let's talk about an inferior good. Change in x1 again equals the change in Q1S plus the change in x1n. And again, let's imagine that P1 is going up. Well, again, this is going to be minus. We're definitely subbing away from this good because it's become relatively more expensive. But not only that, but now our purchasing power is going down. But if this is an inferior good, this is actually going to cause us to increase quantity demanded of that good. So what actually happens to x1 is not clear. It kind of depends on the magnitude of these two effects. If the income effect is large enough, in magnitude, then then this whole effect is going to be positive. Then we're going to get a given good. And so here, given good is going to mean that the change in x1 is greater than 0 when P1 increases, because the second effect is kind of overwhelming this first effect. So we have a positive increase in the quantity demand of good one. Understand what that would look like graphically. So here's the original consumption. I'm definitely should have gone a little bit more to the right, but if you don't hear me start this again, if you don't see a new clip, it means I managed to do it. And so now the price of good one goes down. So we have something like that. Well, what's happening with a given good, to draw kind of a weird shape of my difference curve, but what's happening with a given good is x1 star star is to the left. And so basically your point, I think we've been labeling this point A and point B. Your point B from a price decrease is going to be to the left of point A. So this is like a given good. If you wanted to draw the two effects, hopefully I can draw them. I'm going to draw like a parallel line to this that just cuts through there. Let's pretend that's parallel. Doesn't look great, but pretend that's a parallel line to the pink one there. And if we drew another one, be really careful here. And maybe that's point C, which we've been calling x1 prime. Then what's happening here is that this is the sub effect. Or, again, it's always going to sub towards the good that got cheaper, and here P1 is getting smaller. But here now the income effect is negative, and it's bigger than the substitute effect, so we actually decrease the consumption. These are just supposed to be 2 stars, sorry. And so here, the substitution effect is smaller than the income effect, and it's an inferior good. So a given good is a particular kind of inferior good, the income effect is greater than the substitution effect. So kind of all given goods are inferior goods, but not all inferior goods are given goods.